The warship was silent, but the silence did not feel peaceful. It felt heavy, like the air was waiting for something dangerous to happen. Bright white lights glowed from the metal walls, and strange symbols moved across the floor like living shadows. Every alien soldier in the room stood still, their eyes focused on the single human inside their hall, Commander Eric Hawley. Eric's hands were cuffed behind his back, but he walked with steady steps. His boots echoed loudly, making every alien warrior tense. Even as a prisoner, he looked calm. His hair was messy from battle, his face had small bruises, but his expression stayed strong. He did not show fear, even though he stood inside an enemy warship, surrounded by beings who viewed humans as weak creatures. The alien soldiers whispered among themselves. Many had never seen a human this close. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. All of them moved away when they heard soft footsteps from the far end of the hall. The sound was gentle, almost like the flap of wings. Then she appeared. Lady Seraphine, the angelic warrior. She stepped into the hall with slow, graceful movements. White wings, tall and powerful, folded behind her back. Her silver armor shone brightly under the lights, reflecting every face in the room. Two curved golden horns framed her head, and a thin silver crown rested between them. Her eyes were pale blue, sharp, cold, and commanding. She was known across galaxies as a warrior who never hesitated to kill. Eric was the only human who had ever been brought before her alive. Seraphine walked closer, and every soldier bowed their head. But Eric did not. He lifted his chin and stared at her directly. A bold choice, one that made the aliens gasp. Seraphine stopped just a few steps. In front of him, she looked down at him with a calm face, but her eyes showed something else: surprise. This human was not trembling. He was not sweating. He stood as if he belonged in that hall. "Human," she said, her voice smooth but strong. "Do you understand where you are?" Eric nodded once. "Inside your warship," he replied. "Surrounded by soldiers who want me dead. Hard to forget." His tone was not disrespectful, but it was confident. It made several alien guards step forward in anger. Seraphine raised her hand, stopping them instantly. She kept her eyes on Eric. "You speak boldly," she said. "Most humans break before reaching this hall," Eric shrugged. "Maybe you have not met the right humans." A faint sound moved through the crowd, half shock, half amusement. The aliens had never heard a prisoner speak like this. But Seraphine did not react with anger. Instead, she circled Eric slowly, studying him like a puzzle. He followed her movement with his eyes but did not turn his head. He did not want to give her the satisfaction of seeing him nervous. "You fought well on the outer deck," Seraphine said behind him. "My soldiers reported that you refused to surrender." Eric breathed out slowly. "Your soldiers were not used to fighting someone who doesn't give up." Seraphine stepped in front of him again. She looked into his eyes, searching for weakness. But she found none. "What drives you?" she asked. "Why stand against an army alone?" Eric stayed silent for a moment. The hall grew even quieter. Every alien leaned forward, waiting for his answer. Finally he spoke. "Because someone had to." Seraphine watched him closely. She could sense truth in his voice. She expected fear. She expected begging. But this human gave her neither. It bothered her more than she wanted to admit. Before she could question him again, a tremor shook the warship. The floor vibrated beneath their feet. Lights flickered overhead. The soldiers looked around, confused. Seraphine's wings tightened. Slightly. Eric noticed it immediately. "Your ship is nervous," he said quietly. Seraphine turned sharply. "Warships do not get nervous." "This one does," Eric said. "I felt it when I came in. Something is wrong." His words irritated some of the aliens, but Seraphine felt a strange chill. She sensed the same unease in the ship's living core, but she did not want to show it. She stepped closer, her face inches from his. How would a human know anything about my warship? Eric gave a small smile. Because I pay attention. Another tremor hit stronger this time. Alarms echoed through the hall. Red lights flashed along the walls. Soldiers panicked. Seraphine's eyes widened, then quickly hardened. She turned to her guards. Find the source. The soldiers rushed out. Eric spoke quietly. It's starting. Seraphine faced him again, her wings spreading slightly. What do you know? Human? Eric looked at her with calm, steady eyes. More than you think, he said. And you're running out of time. The tension between them grew thicker, almost electric. For the first time, Seraphine felt something new, a small, sharp pinch of doubt and for the first time, she wondered if this human was more dangerous than any weapon. The alarms echoed through the giant warship like a rising storm. Red lights kept flashing, and the metal floor vibrated in short, sharp bursts. Every alien soldier rushed to their positions, shouting commands and warnings. But in the center of the chaos stood two figures, Eric Hale, the human prisoner, and Lady Seraphine, the angelic warrior. Seraphine's wings opened slightly as she studied the shaking hall. She was trying to appear calm, but Eric could see the tension in her shoulders. This warship was said to be one of the strongest in the galaxy. Nothing should be able to disturb it. But something was wrong. Very wrong. Eric stood still, even though his wrists still bound. His eyes moved slowly across the glowing walls. He watched the symbols change shape faster than before. Some symbols flickered like they were scared. Seraphine stepped toward him. Human, tell me what you know. Eric raised an eyebrow. Is that an order or a request? Her jaw tightened. She was not used to anyone questioning her tone. Answer, she said sharply. Eric looked around one more time before he spoke. Your warship is alive. Seraphine froze. Her soldiers paused too. For a moment, the entire hall went silent. That is impossible, she said. The ship is powered by a biocore. It responds to commands but does not feel. Eric shook his head. No, this isn't just a machine. It has fear. It was afraid even before the alarms started. Several alien guards stepped closer, angry at his words. But Seraphine held up her hand again, stopping them. She looked into Eric's eyes. You watched my ship for only minutes. How can you know such things? Eric spoke calmly. Because I spent years studying ships like this. Your people are not the only ones building living vessels. Humans have seen this technology before, and we've seen what scares them. Seraphine took a slow breath. She didn't want to admit it, but something inside her agreed with him. She had felt a strange pulse in the ship's core when she entered the hall earlier. A pulse that felt like pain. Another tremor shook the warship stronger this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. A few aliens stumbled. Eric kept his balance easily. See, it's reacting. Seraphine turned toward her officers. Report. One soldier held up a glowing panel. His voice trembled. My lady, the core is unstable. Something is interfering with it from outside. Seraphine frowned. What kind of interference? He swallowed hard. Unknown energy. Nothing we have recorded before. Eric closed his eyes for a moment. So they found you. Seraphine snapped her head toward him. Who? Eric looked at her with a serious expression. The same enemy I came to warn you about. The hall exploded. With angry voices. The aliens surrounded Eric, weapons raised, shouting that he was lying, that humans couldn't know anything important. But Seraphine stayed silent. Her mind was turning, connecting pieces she had ignored for too long. She waved her hand sharply. Quiet. The room fell silent again. Eric stepped forward, even with bound hands. Your ship is sending a signal, not by choice. It's calling for help. Seraphine narrowed her eyes. Help from whom? Eric's voice dropped to a deep, cold whisper. Help from something that wants you all dead. Every alien in the room T-E-N-S-E-D. Before Seraphine could question him further, another shock hit the ship, this one strong enough to throw soldiers off their feet. A deep rumbling sound rolled through the walls, like something massive was scraping. Against the outside of the vessel, Seraphine spread her wings to keep her balance. Her armor rattled. Her heartbeat quickened. She hated feeling unsure. She hated not knowing. She pointed her spear at Eric. Explain, now. Eric nodded slightly. Fine, but you won't like it. The attackers are not from my people. They are not from yours. They are ancient machines. They take control of living ships. They drain them. They leave nothing alive. Seraphine stared at him, unsure if he was telling the truth or a masterful lie. My soldiers would have detected such machines, she said. Eric answered. Not if they evolved. Not if they learned to hide. The warship groaned again, louder now. The floor shook as if something powerful was trying to break in. Seraphine looked around, trying to hide her fear. Why come here, human? Why warn your enemy? Eric looked directly into her pale blue eyes. Because this enemy doesn't care who it kills. For the first time, Seraphine felt a chill deep inside her chest. She suddenly wondered if capturing Eric was not a victory, but a mistake, before she could speak. The lights went out. Total darkness filled the hall. Only Eric's voice broke the silence. It's inside. Darkness swallowed the entire hall. Not a single light remained. The warship, once proud and bright, now felt like a giant empty cage. Every alien soldier froze, unsure of what surrounded them. Their wings twitched, their sharp eyes tried to adjust, but the dark was too thick. Unnatural. In the center of that darkness, Lady Seraphine felt something she almost never felt. Fear. Her wings tightened around her body as she listened. No one spoke. No one moved. The quiet wasn't calm, it was frightening, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. Eric's voice broke the silence. It's already connected to the ship's nerves. Seraphine turned toward the sound, her spear raised, though she could barely see him. How do you know? She demanded. I've seen it before, he replied, voice steady. When the lights die first, it means the machine is inside the main circuits. A small spark of light appeared as one alien tried to activate their weapon's torch, but it flickered and died instantly. Even your tech is useless now, Eric said. It drains energy. Seraphine hated that he sounded calmer than her own soldiers. She hated that a human prisoner knew more about this enemy than she did. But most of all, she hated the quiet fear creeping up her spine. A faint pulse ran through the ground, like a heartbeat. The walls seemed to breathe. Seraphine felt the vibration through her boots. Don't be afraid, one of her soldiers whispered to another, but the whisper didn't help. Fear spread like smoke. Seraphine took a deep breath and forced her voice to stay strong. Eric Hale, if you know something, tell me now. Eric stepped forward. She could hear his slow, steady steps on the metal floor. These machines, he said, they latch onto living ships. They feed on the core. They replace the ship's mind with their own. A tremor passed again, stronger than before. The floor shivered like something was crawling beneath it. Seraphine's wings rose, slightly in alarm. You mean it wants to control my warship? No, Eric said softly. It wants to become your warship. Her breath caught. A wave of anger burned inside her chest. This warship was not only her command, it was part of her identity. She had trained in it since childhood. She knew every corridor, every pulse of energy. She could not allow anything to take it. But even as she pressed her spear tighter, doubt crept in. What if the human is right? A sudden metallic scream ripped through the air, high and sharp. Soldiers jumped, wings flaring. Seraphine spun toward the noise, but still saw nothing. What was that? A soldier shouted. Eric answered. The ship is trying to cut the infection. Out, but it's too late. Seraphine felt frustration boiling. Why didn't our sensors detect this thing before it entered? Because it didn't enter, Eric said. It grew, it attached itself on the outside, and then spread inward. These machines evolve like parasites. The idea disgusted her. Nothing should ever be able to grow on her warship without permission. The floor pulsed again, this time with heat. A low hum traveled through the darkness. Seraphine spread her wings for balance, but her heart raced. She didn't like feeling powerless. She didn't like being blind in her own domain. She had always been confident, a commander, a warrior, a chosen leader. But now, standing in darkness with a human prisoner explaining her enemy to her, she felt uncertain. She hated that feeling. Enough, she said sharply. We find the core. We restore the lights. We destroy whatever is inside. Eric replied calmly, If you rush in blind, you'll lose half your soldiers. Her eyes narrowed. You doubt my command? I doubt your information, Eric said. You don't know what you're dealing with. His honesty hit her harder than an insult. It made her wings twitch. For the first time in her life, she felt like she didn't have all the answers. She stepped closer to him. Then guide me. Human, if you truly know this enemy, prove it. Eric hesitated for the first time. Not because he feared her, but because he knew the truth. If I help you, he said quietly, your soldiers will think I'm tricking you. Seraphine lifted her chin. I do not follow my soldiers, they follow me. Even if I am your enemy? Eric asked. There was a long tense pause. Then Seraphine said something no one expected. Right now, she said softly, the darkness is our enemy, and you are the only one who sees inside it. Eric finally nodded. Another deep groan came from the ship, followed by a distant crack like something tearing open metal. Seraphine tightened her grip on her spear. Eric whispered, We have minutes. Maybe less. Seraphine looked around the unseen hall, her warriors trembling in the dark. For the first time, she didn't know if she could save them, but she knew one thing for certain. She needed the human. A cold wind moved through the dark hall, even though there were no windows or doors open. The air felt thin, almost sharp, like something invisible had sliced through it. Every alien soldier went silent as the metal floor vibrated again, this time like footsteps, but not human or alien. The sound was too smooth, too quick, too unnatural. Seraphine's wings tensed. She had heard footsteps like these only once before, in a forbidden archive that told stories of ancient enemies. But she never believed those stories were real. Now she was not so sure. Eric listened carefully. He seemed to recognize the rhythm. It's searching, he whispered. And it's close. Seraphine gripped her spear tighter. Weapons ready, she ordered. But when her soldiers tried to activate their energy spears, every weapon sparked once and went dead. The darkness swallowed their light instantly. Eric spoke again. I told you. It drains anything powered. Seraphine hated relying on a human for answers, but she had no choice. Her soldiers were strong, skilled, and loyal, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Not one they couldn't see. Not one that ate energy like food. A sudden sharp clang rang out from the left side of the hall. Something heavy hit the wall. Soldiers flinched. Another clang came from the right. Then another. Something was moving around them. Too fast to follow. Stay in formation. Seraphine shouted, but fear was crawling under the soldiers' skin. Their wings fluttered. Their breathing grew loud. Eric stepped forward. It's trying to see how you react. It tests weaknesses. Seraphine didn't like being tested. She raised her spear and spoke with authority. Show yourself, her voice echoed. But no one answered. Instead, a thin metallic sound whispered across the ceiling like tiny claws scraping. Slowly, slowly, coming closer. One soldier shouted, Above us! Everyone looked up. But the darkness was too thick. Nothing was visible. Then a faint blue glow appeared. At first it looked small, just a dot. But it grew larger and brighter until its shape became clear. A mechanical eye, cold, empty, watching. Before anyone could react, something dropped from the ceiling with incredible speed. It hit the floor with a heavy thud. The impact cracked the metal beneath it. Alien soldiers screamed. Wings flared open. Weapons failed again. Seraphine stood firm, but even she felt her heart jolt. The creature rose slowly, its body partly organic but mostly machine. Long metal limbs, smooth armor like skin. No face, only that single glowing eye. It stood tall, almost as tall as Seraphine herself. Its movements were elegant in a horrifying way, like a dancer made of blades. Eric spoke softly. A harvester. Seraphine glared at him. Explain, quickly. It attaches to living ships, Eric said. It steals their energy and grows stronger. If it reaches the core, your ship becomes part of its hive. The harvester tilted its head, studying Seraphine. Her. Soldiers raised their useless weapons. One panicked soldier rushed forward, screaming a battle cry. He tried to stab the creature with a dead spear. The harvester moved in a blur, a flash of metal, a burst of air, and the soldier fell alive but unconscious, knocked aside like a toy. Seraphine felt rage ignite. No enemy touched her warriors without paying the price. She lunged forward, spear aimed at the creature's chest. Even without energy power, her spear was pure metal and sharp enough to cut stone. But the harvester blocked her strike with one clawed arm and pushed her back with terrifying strength. Seraphine slid across the floor, wings dragging, boots scraping. Metal sparks, her soldiers gasped. Their commander pushed back by one strike. Eric stepped forward. You can't fight it head on. It learns your moves. Seraphine rose, breathing hard. I do not retreat. That's not retreat, Eric sighed. That's survival. The harvester turned toward Eric, its single eye narrowed. It sensed him. It recognized him. Seraphine saw the creature move a split second before Eric did. Move! She shouted. Eric jumped to the side as the harvester's arms slammed into floor where he had been standing. The impact created a crater. Eric rolled and came to his feet quickly, even with his wrists tied. Seraphine's eyes widened. This human moved faster than expected. Untie me, Eric shouted. I can't fight like this. Seraphine hesitated. Trusting a human in a moment like this was dangerous, foolish even. But keeping him tied was worse. If he died, her only source of knowledge about this creature died too. She made her decision in an instant. With one swift strike of her spear, she broke the cuffs binding Eric's wrists. He stared at her for a moment, surprised. Thanks. Fight, she said. Earn it. Eric nodded and took a stance. The harvester screeched, a metallic sound that shook the walls. It charged. Eric and Seraphine stood side by side, ready to face it. Together, for the first time. The harvester's metallic screech echoed as Eric and Seraphine stood shoulder to shoulder. For a moment, neither spoke. Both simply watched the creature, waiting for its next move. The warship's dark hull trembled around them like a frightened beast. Eric wiped the dust from his hands now that his cuffs were broken. His fingers curled into fists, ready. Seraphine glanced at him, not with hatred, but with something new. Something she didn't understand. Respect, curiosity, fear. She ignored the thought. The harvester crouched low, preparing to strike again. But instead of attacking, it suddenly froze. The blue glow in its eye flickered, shifting from bright to dim, like a heartbeat slowing. Eric frowned. It's scanning. U.S. Seraphine raised her spear. Scanning for what? Eric did not answer right away. His eyes stayed locked on the creature. For memories, for energy, for identity. The harvester twitched, Then the blue glow brightened again. It stepped back, not from fear, but from recognition. Seraphine noticed. "It knows you," Eric exhaled slowly. "Yes, it should." Her wings tightened. "Explain." Eric stepped away from her and faced the dark hall. "This isn't my first encounter with them." Seraphine studied him closely. Her soldiers listened quietly. Even the warship seemed to pause, like the walls were waiting for his story. Eric finally spoke. "Years ago, before your people captured the outer colonies, my team was sent on a research mission. We believed we found a dead world, silent, empty." His voice grew heavier, but it wasn't dead, it was consumed. Only metal bones remained. Seraphine sensed something painful buried in his tone, but she said nothing. Eric continued. "We entered a ruined ship. Inside we found survivors. My friends, my crew." His voice cracked, just slightly. "But they weren't alive anymore. Their bodies were drained. Their minds were gone. The harvesters took everything." Seraphine's gaze softened without her permission. Eric clenched his fists. "Only one harvester was left on that world, and it marked me. It studied me. It followed me across 3 systems. I don't know why." He looked at Seraphine. "But now it knows exactly who I am." Seraphine spoke quietly. "You lost your crew." Eric nodded once. "All of them." The silence that followed was thick and heavy. Even Seraphine, a warrior trained to show no weakness, felt a tightness in her chest. Losing soldiers was painful. Losing a whole team. That kind of wound never fully healed. Eric shook his head. "This is why I didn't surrender. Why I didn't run. These things don't stop. Not until every living mind is gone." Another tremor moved through the ship. Lights flickered for just a moment, then died again. The warship groaned like something inside it was being pulled apart. Seraphine lifted her spear again. "And you believe it wants to consume my ship now?" Eric nodded. "It wants your core. Your ship has a powerful mind. It will feed the harvester's hive. You need to shut the core down or move it. If you don't, the floor cracked beneath them." A glowing blue line ran across the hall like a lightning bolt. Eric jumped back. "It's inside the ship's veins." Seraphine cursed it under her breath. Not in anger, this time in frustration and fear. Eric continued. "Your ship is alive. That means it feels pain. It's screaming from the inside. If you don't act now, your warship will not survive." Seraphine turned sharply. "You speak as if this ship is a living warrior. It is a tool." Eric shook his head. "No, it's more than that. Can't you feel it? The fear, the pressure, the heartbeat?" She wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. She did feel it. Since childhood, she had trained on this ship. She had always felt a soft hum under her feet, as if the ship were breathing quietly. Now that hum was shaking with panic. Seraphine lowered her spear. "If what you say is true, then we must reach the core, now." Eric nodded. "I can help you. I've seen these infections before." Her soldiers murmured in confusion. "Trust a human? Follow a human into the heart of their warship." Seraphine raised her voice. "You will follow my command, and I choose to listen." The soldiers fell silent, but their eyes stayed filled with doubt. Eric turned us toward the hallway that led deeper into the ship. "The harvester will follow. It doesn't want me to reach the core." Seraphine's wings spread, glowing faintly in the dark. "Then let it try." Suddenly, a loud cracking sound echoed through the hall. The harvester's eye brightened again, and dozens of small metallic spiders crawled from the ceiling and walls. Blue lights blinking like stars. Eric whispered. "It has sent scouts." Seraphine lifted her spear. "Then we fight them together." Eric nodded. For the first time since their meeting, they stood not as enemies, but as allies, and the warship trembled again, as if warning them. The real battle was yet to come. The metallic spiders filled the hall like a swarm, clicking their sharp legs against the floor. Their small blue eyes glowed in the darkness, cold and hungry. Eric and Seraphine stood side by side, ready to fight, but they knew this was only the beginning. The true harvester was still out there, growing stronger with every second. "Move!" Seraphine ordered, leading her soldiers toward the inner corridor. The group ran through the dark hallway, wings rustling, armor clinking, boots pounding against the trembling floors. Eric ran beside Seraphine, keeping pace even without armor or weapons. She noticed this, and it surprised her again. Humans were supposed to be weaker, slower, easier to break. Eric was none of those things. As they moved deeper, strange sounds echoed, hissing wires, distant metal bending, and the low groan of the warship's living core in pain. The walls pulsed, faintly with blue veins spreading like infection. Seraphine pressed her hand to a glowing panel. "The ship is trying to lock us out of the core chamber." "No," Eric said quietly. "It's trying to protect you." Seraphine looked at him sharply, but before she could ask more, "My lady, the soldiers are frightened. The human is confusing them. We should not trust him," Seraphine spoke firmly. "I give the orders, Commander, not fear." Vaylor's eyes flickered and a shadow crossed his face. But she didn't notice. Not yet. They continued moving until they reached a giant circular door, 3 layers thick, marked with ancient symbols. The heart of the warship lay behind it. Seraphine touched the control panel. Nothing happened. Eric stepped forward. The infection reached this far. "It's feeding from the door's power." Seraphine turned to her soldiers. "Prepare manual override." Before they could respond, Vaylor spoke again, more forcefully this time. "My lady, open the door and the human reaches the core. You cannot allow that. He is manipulating you." Eric frowned. "I'm trying to save your ship." Vaylor stepped close to Seraphine. "This is a trap. Humans always deceive. Always pretend to help before they strike." Eric stepped forward. "Is that what you think? That I want to control this ship?" Vaylor ignored him. His eyes stayed locked on Seraphine's. "My lady, for the safety of our people, the human must be restrained again." The hall fell silent. Seraphine felt the weight of every soldier's eyes. Doubt was spreading. They trusted her, but Vaylor was respected too. One wrong command could break everything. Eric met her gaze calmly. "If you chain me again, you lose your only chance." Seraphine hesitated. A rare thing for her. A dangerous thing. Vaylor's voice sharpened. "You hesitate for a human? This is not our way." Those words hit her harder than any blade. She felt anger rise, but also confusion. A commander should never doubt. Yet here she stood between 2 choices, 2 truths, 2 dangers. Eric spoke quietly. "Seraphine, listen to the ship. You can feel it suffering. You can feel it calling you." She closed her eyes, and she could. The ship's heartbeat pulsed, weakly beneath her feet, like a dying friend whispering her name. When she opened her eyes, her answer was clear. "No," she said to Vaylor. "The human stays free. He goes with us." Vaylor's expression changed. Anger, then hatred, then something cold. "No, my lady," he said. "You are wrong." He moved so fast that even Seraphine was caught off guard. He grabbed her spear, twisted it, and yanked it from her hands. Before the soldiers could react, Vaylor turned the spear toward Eric. "Traitor." Eric jumped back as the sharp spear point sliced the air near his throat. Seraphine's wings flared wide. "Vaylor, stand down." But the commander no longer listened. He was shaken not with fear, but with something else. Something unnatural. His voice sounded distorted. "The harvester promised me greatness, power, a place in the new hive." Eric's eyes widened. "So that's how it got in." "It didn't break in, it was invited." Vaylor smiled a twisted, corrupted smile. Blue light flickered beneath his skin. The infection had reached him. Seraphine felt her heart crack. "Valor, you were like a brother," he hissed, voice vibrating with machine tones. "And you were weak. The hive will rise. Your ship will become the first of many." Before he could strike again, Eric tackled him. The two crashed hard onto the floor. Valor fought with unnatural strength, his eyes glowing blue like the harvester's. Seraphine grabbed her fallen spear and joined the fight. Eric rolled away just in time as she slammed the spear into Valor's arm, pinning him. Valor screamed, "Half man, half machine." Eric held him down as Seraphine pressed her hand to Valor's chest, feeling the infection pulse. "Forgive me," she whispered Dot with a swift motion. She drove the spear through his heart. The blue glow faded. Valor went still. Seraphine knelt there, eyes trembling, not with weakness, but with heartbreak. Eric touch. Then they hardened again. She looked at Eric with new eyes. "You were right," she said. "This enemy destroys everything, including loyalty." Eric nodded. "And it won't stop." She turned to the sealed core door. "Then we end it." Together, they approached the heart of the warship, with betrayal behind them and a greater danger waiting ahead. The core chamber door finally opened with a heavy groan, like the warship was exhaling after holding its breath for too long. A deep blue light spilled out, soft but trembling, as if the core itself was afraid. Eric and Seraphine stepped in together, leaving behind the dark hall, the fallen soldiers, and the body of Valor once loyal. Now twisted by the harvester's promise, the core chamber was enormous, round like a heart, with living walls that pulsed in slow rhythm. Blue veins glowed under the surface, dimming and brightening like a heartbeat struggling to stay alive. In the center floated a massive crystal sphere, the warship's living mind, but the sphere was cracked. Thin black lines crawled across it like spiderwebs. Blue light leaked out in soft streams, each one weaker than the last. Seraphine whispered, "It's dying." Eric stepped closer, eyes scanning the cracks. "No, it's fighting. But it can't win alone." Before Seraphine could respond, the room darkened. A cold breeze brushed her armor, and the blue veins on the walls turned faint red. Then the harvester entered. It crawled through an opening above the chamber, landing with a heavy thud that shook the floor. Its single eye glowed brighter than ever, burning with hunger. Behind it, dozens of small metallic spiders poured in, covering the walls and ceiling like a living shadow. Seraphine lifted her spear. Eric stood beside her. The final battle had begun. The harvester moved first, fast, nearly invisible in motion. Its blade-like arms slashed at Seraphine. She blocked it, wings flaring out to absorb the force, but the impact pushed her back. Eric rushed forward, grabbing a loose metal bar from the floor. With quick steps, he swung it at the harvester's knee joint. The strike landed hard, making the creature stagger, but the spiders swarmed him instantly. They crawled onto his arms, legs, boots, trying to bind him down, drain him. Eric clenched his teeth and smashed them against the floor. Seraphine fought like a storm. Her movements were graceful yet fierce, each strike powerful enough to break metal. She kept the harvester's attention on her, but the creature learned fast, adapting to every move she made. And then it changed tactics. It leaped toward the core. "No!" Seraphine cried. Eric yelled, "If it touches the core, your ship is lost." Seraphine sprinted and threw her spear with all her strength. The spear cut through the air like a shooting star and struck the harvester's shoulder, pinning it temporarily to the wall. Sparks flew, but the spiders began cutting the spear free. Eric looked around desperately. He needed something, anything, to reach the core before the harvester did. He saw the glowing crystal sphere, cracked but alive. He also saw the energy conduit leading to its heart. An idea hit him, a dangerous idea. "Seraphine!" He shouted, "Your core is alive. It listens to you." But it needs a bridge. It needs a living mind to connect with. Seraphine turned, confused. A living mind? Whose? Eric met her eyes. Mine. Seraphine froze, shock spreading across her face. No, a human mind cannot survive that connection. Eric smiled sadly. It's okay. I've survived worse. She grabbed his arm. You will die. Eric looked at the trembling core. If I don't, everyone dies. The harvester broke free with a roar, ripping the spear from its body. It charged toward the core again. Eric didn't wait. He ran. Seraphine shouted his name, wings shaking. Voice breaking for the first time. Eric, don't. But he didn't stop. He reached the core and placed both hands on the glowing crack. A shockwave exploded through the chamber. Blue light poured into him, flooding his mind with images, memories. Of the warship, of Seraphine's past, of every battle the ship had ever seen. Pain tore through his skull, but he held on. Seraphine watched in horror and awe. The cracks in the core began to close. Light grew stronger. The spiders screeched. The harvester stumbled back, its eye flickering. Eric screamed, but his voice turned into a shout of raw defiance. You don't decide our fate. The core responded. Blue energy burst from Eric and spread across the chamber like a tidal wave. The spiders burned to ash. The harvester staggered, metal melting. In its last seconds, it looked at Eric not with anger, but with recognition. Then the core released a final pulse. A bright explosion of pure light consumed the creature. When the light faded, the harvester was gone. Silence fell. The warship's heartbeat steadied. The blue veins glowed strong again. The danger was over. Seraphine rushed to Eric, catching him as he collapsed. He was breathing, but weak, eyes half open. She held him close, wings wrapped around him gently. Why, human? She whispered. Why? Would you risk everything for us? Eric smiled faintly. Because humanity fights for those who can't fight alone. That's who we are. Her eyes softened with something she had never felt before. Respect, gratitude, maybe something more. Eric whispered one last line, quiet, proud, and unmistakably HFY. Remember this. Humans don't bow, we rise. Then he closed his eyes, resting against her and for the first time in her life, Lady Seraphine bowed her head for a human.